findings will be made public, but they will be handed over to Rod Rosenstein. Now, to quickly touch on Rosenstein here, remember that Rosenstein allegedly said that he and others should wear a wire to spy on Trump and then invoke the 25th Amendment to remove him from office. And remember that Jeff Sessions was subpoenaed for the McCabe memos recently. And McCabe was one of the people that Rosenstein tried to get to wear a wire, along with McCabe's replacements. Knowing Trump, it's not like him to just sit idly by as this kind of corruption is allowed to fester. So I'm sure that we'll see a shakeup here somewhere along the line, but it's completely up to Rosenstein what gets released to the public and what gets released to Congress. The two things that Mueller was looking at was Russian collusion that Trump was allegedly a part of and obstruction of justice. The investigation won't be completed before the midterm elections though, and Trump has signaled that he might be looking to remove Sessions after the election. And I just talked about Rosenstein's predicament. So what this means is that Mueller's investigation will likely drop any information they have right after the election, and it'll be a very interesting time. I mean, Mueller secured more than 24 indictments and guilty pleas, but we've seen the nature of those guilty pleas and those indictments with Papadopoulos and Manafort and Gates and Flynn. I mean, none of what we've seen so far incriminates the president. And we also had Mueller indict those Russians supposedly traced back to the Russian GRU. But even that was sketchy, because there's an incredibly small chance that they were actually Russian. And Mueller acts like a hacker would put himself in a position to be found if he forgets to turn on his VPN. I mean, that's bogus and Mueller knows it, but he's desperately looking for something. And sure, much of what he's done has been out of the spotlight, and he could have something. But if he does, then what's been made public has purposely been small beans. Now, Manafort struck a cooperation agreement last month, and Flynn is set to have his sentencing handed down on December 18th. Meanwhile, Mueller's also been talking to Michael Cohen, who is involved with an investigation headed up by the U.S. Attorney's Office in Manhattan, on top of Mueller's investigation. Now, with Manafort in particular, I tend to hope that Mueller's a good guy. I don't see it that way, and I think it's incredibly far-fetched at this point. But I can hope. There's a small sliver of me that's hoping. And it's because Manafort was involved in the Trump Tower meeting during which Natalia Veselnitskaya was supposed to hand over damaging information on Hillary, and it ended up being a discussion about the Majinsky Act. But she was illegally in the country. So how did she get in the country? Well, Obama's DOJ. I've covered that in numerous videos before. And who did she have connections with years prior to the meeting? Fusion GPS. And how did the meeting get set up? Well, through Rinat Akhmetshin, who's a Russian-born lobbyist with ties to Ukrainian intelligence. And he was in contact with Glenn Simpson, the co-founder of Fusion GPS, who was in contact with Bruce Orr of the Justice Department, and Nellie Orr since at least 2010, and he's known Christopher Steele since at least 2009. Basically, the web goes deep, and this Spygate mess goes deeper than Mueller's willing to look. Paul Manafort's also being pressured for information on Roger Stone. Particularly, Mueller is curious about communication with Assange regarding the damaging WikiLeaks emails that were released. Because why care about the content of the emails when you can just care about who released them, right? And while I'm talking a bit about Manafort, I should bring up that a senior Treasury official was caught with a flash drive and arrested over the leak of suspicious activity reports about Manafort and the alleged Russian spy Maria Butina. Maria Butina, for anyone who doesn't remember, is a woman charged with trying to infiltrate U.S. political organizations as a Russian spy. Of course, now the question is, what news agency was this banking information being leaked to? And although the answer isn't definitive, it's a New York-based outlet. And BuzzFeed is New York-based and has a lot of stories that they've written that match up with the dates of the leak, and also with the content discussed. So that's really all for this video. I just wanted to give an update on Mueller's probe and hit on this story of the Treasury employee being arrested. So thank you all so much for watching. As I'm sure you're aware, I appreciate all the support. Patreon, donation, and merch links are below.